Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Can y'all hear me? I'm late. Let me add KJ. Hey, KJ.
Hey, I didn't know if I was supposed to speak or not.
Oh, I just added you to the stream. Been having a little bit of issue back here.
Well,
So,
it's good to hear your voice.
yours too. It's not been a very good morning, but it doesn't have to represent the rest of the day. So, I know. I'm trying to catch my bearings right now. You know how I mean, this is something that I've experienced throughout my entire life. And it's because I'm always on such a different schedule than the rest of the normal world. And yeah, so I just like, I'll fall asleep at when I'm like, I know I shouldn't sleep. I know I shouldn't go to bed. If I do, it's just, it's going to bite me in the butt. And it did. So, uh,
Well, we're all human and we all have our lives, and I'm gonna tell you what, we all love you and we understand. All of us do.
I love y'all too. And thank y'all. I mean, it's just, anyways, so what's going on? How's it going? How's your vacation?
If this guy who's mowing out here in the field across from me, if y'all hear all that, I apologize. I didn't know they were going to be doing any mowing over there. I'm out here in the middle of the woods, practically it's in a state park, but they choose the one day of this week that's to me is a pivotal day. And then we hear the news yesterday and of Chad Chinbell there not going to be at the hearing today. And that sent me off the deep end and made me realize that, this seesaw, this roller coaster we're on, it's getting to the where, I think all of us, we realize how important it is to get justice for the victims in this terrible case. and
Yeah.
and we just all have a heart for you and your family and all of that. And it's just it really comes home to me and makes me realize what I'm willing to do and what I know is deep in my heart to do to get justice through understanding. It shows flaws and all.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yes. I totally get it. And I appreciate it. I do. I really do. In fact, you guys are I can honestly say this, that you guys are the only reason that I do try to strive, for to be better, to keep pushing, to who just be better. I don't know. It just to keep going. I don't know any other way, and it sure is lonely doing it by yourself, or feeling like you're doing it by yourself. But it
Well,
just makes it.
you have a lot of people that are behind you 110%.
And I
All
feel
these
it.
people that are on this chat right now, they don't have to be here. They're here because they know you're real and they
Right.
know that you have love in your heart. And obviously you're a family member. But the bottom line is everyone's here, and everyone loves you and everyone wants to see justice done. And this is a process that has eaten my lunch and has there's been many comments from the Rays about, this is just so frustrating. But then it forces me to realize how ashamed I should be that if it's upsetting me and making me feel angry about the process, then I can't even imagine what it's like for you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it means so much. It really means so much. And I swear, I wish I could find a way to reciprocate it, and know that I'm reciprocating it, and know that everyone here feels that. and knows that, that it's genuine. Yeah, it's again, it's this, and I trying to find the positives out of such a horrible, tragic, crappy, evil, never-ending nightmare. It's it's the one thing that just reassures me that this is good. This has okay. Like something good has to come out of this. And I don't know. I refuse to allow Lori and Chad to dictate the rest of my life. Although a lot of times it feels like that's exactly what the hell they're doing. But it's mind over matter, you know.
Allison Pleabley says, KJ, keep encouraging Crescia. She's hard on herself. Well, Allison, Jen of True Crime Unveiled, Big E,
Mm-hmm.
Kathy, these
And
people
KJ,
were
yeah.
around her long before I stepped into the picture. And these people,
Mhm.
they're probably way beyond anything that I could even. I'm just an old country girl. I know Crescia, she's strong. She's going to handle things. She's going to be okay, regardless. But we're talking moment to moment for this family. This isn't just, oh, this has been over 2 years. This has been longer for them on that. When the children were missing, this is what, 3 years now, Crescia?
Yep. Over 3 years. July 11th was 3 years for Uncle Charles. I mean, it started a little before that, I mean, the last New Year's Eve that we spent together, or the last New Year's Eve before 2020, um, is I'm sorry, I'm having to refresh also for Judge Boyce's channel. Um, but it started, for it came onto my radar just like 6 months even prior to my Uncle Charles being murdered, and I reflect back on those times, whenever it was that last New Year's Eve, when we were in Lafayette, Louisiana at my Uncle Bobby's house. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful for those times now, for sure.
Crescia, everyone, Kathy, and we've got Sam Willow on here saying it's live now. Is there anything
I don't
that
see anything, um, but I'm sure it is. Hmm. Oh, I was not refreshing the homepage. Okay, let me transfer it over. Thank you, Sand. All right, just hang tight. Share. Come on. Okay, share. Okay, it's just the emblem right now. Let's see. So we didn't miss anything quite yet. Good. Okay. Yay.
Well,
I did.
whatever's talked about today, you've got Big E always says trigger warning. Crescia, when you see that, I'm sorry, I've got to call her a hussy. If just
No.
I pray strength for you when you see her. I just pray for you. It's not about my reaction to seeing her walk in the courtroom. It's not about anyone else's. It's about yours as far as my opinion is concerned. I just want you to know that I pray for strength for you when this diabolical witch walks in there.
Yeah. Right. Oh, it is triggering. I was really hoping to see those two having to face each other. I wanted them to face each other. I know you did too. Um,
Jennifer on here says that she looks chipper, all giggly and prettied up. So this
yeah.
must be running.
Yeah, they said I'm reading, and it says that um, it showed her being seated. So I missed her walking in, but we'll definitely catch East Idaho. Okay, here we go. Hey, Mom. Hey, Mom. Mom says hello, everybody. All right, I'm going to be quiet now. There's your man. No, I'm picking. Oh, yeah, triggered.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, let me just be quiet. Uh, oh, where's your glasses, you old hooker?
Morning. We're going on the
Well,
record in this matter. This
okay,
is ACR
it's quiet.
22-21-1624 State
I
versus
can't hear it.
Noreen Vallow. This is the time
Can
scheduled
y'all hear
for
it?
a hearing on motions that are pending filed
I
by
can barely
the
hear it.
I can't
to
either.
get started.
Hey,
A couple of
Carrie.
procedural issues the court would like to take
I don't
up.
know. It's all the way up.
First of all, for the public in attendance,
Ugh,
we do have an administrative order governing
what the hell?
conduct both in the courthouse and within the courtroom. I would
Ugh,
reiterate the prohibitions that are contained in the order governing courtroom
I wish I could
conduct.
hear it.
On page 2 of that order, the cell
I,
phones,
I,
and I'll just read that to make sure everyone's clear on this, that's in attendance. With the
what can I do?
exception of approved media and court personnel, all cell phones and other electronics must be turned off at all times in the courtroom. If a cell phone or other electronic device rings or beeps or is found to be used during court, it will be confiscated by the marshal. No one may talk on a cell phone in the courtroom.
Yeah.
And also,
Okay. Lori Colley says
recording
she can't hear it
and
either.
transmitting any
So it must be on their
inappropriate
end.
sounds from the
Yeah, they'll
courtroom.
probably
If you have
adjust it
not
here
been
at some
previously
point.
authorized to do
But
so,
everybody needs to
the media
listen very
or
closely.
reports entered is likewise prohibited. So I would request the public please comply with that order at all times during this hearing.
Yeah, we can't hear either.
I'll identify the
Oh,
parties
Donna
this
says he's
time
telling
then.
rules for courtroom phones.
Mr.
So
Wood and Ms.
it's
Blake
Judge
are here
Boyce's
on
channel
behalf of the state. The defendant,
that
Ms. Vallow
is East Idaho
Daybell,
News
is here
experiencing
represented
sound.
by her attorneys Jim Archer
Oh, y'all
and
can hear
Scott
Michelle.
Thomas.
Okay. Okay.
In terms of
Ah,
these
I don't
motions,
understand.
to clarify for the court, who's intending to argue
I
these
mean,
motions
everything
on
is
behalf of the
normal.
defendant counsel?
Well, nothing's
All right,
normal,
Mr.
but
Thomas will present argument on the motions, and who will be offering responsive argument from the state?
okay. So
Tylee
East
or
Idaho News, you can hear.
Mr. Wood
I'm gonna go do
will
some undercover
present
work real
argument
quick.
for the
Y'all
state.
just keep watching, reading her lips.
Would note that we did previously have scheduled a motion in regards to consumptive DNA testing that was set for today. The court has received a stipulation and an order, which I've signed, that resolved that issue. And so that is not being taken up for hearing this morning based on the order entered on that. What remains then for the court today are two motions as they relate to the charges that are contained in the indictment. Two separate motions, one as it relates to aggravating factors, and the other motion as it relates to count 1 and 3 with the conspiracy charges.
Okay. I got one of them up.
We'll
Let me
hear
take this one
argument on those
down.
motions. I will indicate one other procedural.
I'm gonna stop sharing. Then I gotta start sharing. So everybody hold your pearls. Come on. Thank you. Come on. I don't know. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for using East Idaho News. What the frick is she laughing for? Oh, that's a good picture.
Motion to remand a grand jury for probable
Yeah.
cause
Cry.
determination as to alleged aggravating
Wanch.
factors. Why don't we start there, Mr. Thomas? I reviewed your motion and briefing. I've reviewed the state's response.
Oh my good God.
Certainly, thank you. We also,
I can't hear theirs either.
we have a motion to incorporate state constitutional grounds in support of future motions and objections. That has not yet been heard. Put that on the record, that we are relying upon
Good morning, Cunning.
that motion, and we're relying upon the 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution.
What the
There
heck?
are about 70 cases that are cited in that motion. I can read those off for the clerk or for the reporter if the court is okay with that, or would the court like you to?
Well,
court acknowledge them?
we don't have that notice for hearing today, Mr. Thomas. I mean, I can take notes.
I can hear it.
Filed and understand the request you're making there in terms of making.
That's getting better.
Finding or not set for hearing. The motion's been lodged in this case, and I don't.
I mean, that's East Idaho News.
Put all the authority into the record on the oral motion at this time, unless you think that's necessary.
I can't hear anything.
And I don't think it's necessary. I just want to make sure, for appeal purposes, that the court is aware that we are relying upon those constitutional amendments.
Okay, and I do understand that those are incorporated into your defense here, and we'll be considering those federal constitutional protections as well in this case.
Thank you, Your Honor. So the first motion that we're going to argue today is
I can barely hear him.
with regards to the aggravating factors, Your Honor. We believe that that there should be a probable cause hearing on these aggravating factors. Pursuant to our motion, we indicated that those aggravating factors enhance, if you will,
Always
the
mental
penalty,
gymnastics.
and therefore they are part of the punishment here. We understand the state's position, and we understand that the state's position, the Supreme Court of the state of Idaho's position, is that Abdullah is controlling law here. And we get that, but we are of the opinion that that there should be probable cause hearings on each of these aggravators for several reasons. One being that it narrows down the possibility of us having to prepare for a trial on an aggravating factor that doesn't fit, that doesn't meet the probable cause standard. There are other reasons that we don't consider those. As I said earlier, we understand that Abdullah is the law of the land here in Idaho, but as the court is well aware, especially this year, with the Supreme Court rule to overturn Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade was the law of the land for a number of years, and then through time and change, they decided to overturn that. That was a landmark case, and we would just like to, for appeal purposes, put that on the record that we believe that there should be a probable cause standing as far as these aggravating factors go, and we would rely upon that. Would like to deny no motion on that. We would like that to be pointed out.
Question.
Okay, good. Oh, why is it not show? It's showing the wrong damn one. Crap. Hold on, guys. Judge Boyce, share.
Constitution allow for that hybrid, bring it back to a grand jury or bring it back to a preliminary hearing and let some a magistrate or your honor to decide whether those are probable cause or not. I'm not sure that it would really matter.
She looks like a deranged unicorn.
She needs to turn that front upside down.
They were the ones who found the probable cause.
She does look like a unicorn.
Alleged crimes. I would ask the court require that they also find
Yeah, I can't hear him
probable
either.
cause upon the aggravating factors.
All right, thanks for the response to the question, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Wood, what is the state's response on the motion for further probable cause determination on aggravating factors?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll be brief. As Mr. Thomas has pointed out, there is controlling law on this issue, directly on this issue in State versus Abdullah. It's a 2015 case, capital case, where the death penalty was found. And I'll just, this is in my brief, but I'll just read from it very quickly. This is a direct quote from that case. We also hold that there is no constitutional requirement that the state present evidence demonstrating probable cause for each aggravating circumstance to properly notify the defendant of its intent to seek the death penalty. And so, as Mr. Thompson stated, that is controlling. It's the Supreme Court of the state of Idaho. That analysis starts, their analysis starts with a discussion of Ring versus Arizona, which is the case that found that.
I can't believe she's going to sit there and smile like that. It just is, it's incredible.
She's a bitch. I don't know. I don't have any nice words.
She just looks like she's like, you know, you're wasting my time. Well, I don't know what kind.
Like,
Abdullah goes through that
yeah,
analysis.
pretending to care. This is my pretend to care face.
The Supreme Court comes to the conclusion.
She only cares about what's going to happen to her.
Where the Supreme Court has found that, where it's directly on point. I think this decision is already made for the court. I understand Mr. Thomas's argument that it's for appeal purposes.
Bleach. I don't know.
But as for this case, and under the current law, this is an issue that's already decided by the Supreme Court. There's no need for probable cause to be found at the aggravating factors. Idaho law determines how those aggravating factors are listed and how that notice of intent is given. And that has been upheld in Abdullah. And so for today, I think Mr. Thomas said it well, for purposes of appeal, they've raised the issue. But as of for this case today, I think this decision's already been made by the Supreme Court.
All right, thank you for the response, Mr. Wood. Mr. Thomas, do you have any rebuttal argument to make?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the court's considered the motion then at this time, given the nature of the case, in lieu of making a finding or ruling from the bench, the court will take this matter under advisement and will issue a written decision on the motion. That will be lodged once we've completed the research and written the decision on that. So that first motion will be taken under advisement. Mr. Thomas, then, if you'd like to present argument on the second motion, and that was your motion filed also July 12th, to remand the indictment to the grand jury.
What the hell is she wearing?
I'm reading Jean's comment. I'm reading all y'all's comments. They're enlightening. Thank you.
Listing of the offenses in count.
Somebody tell me what she's wearing. I can't. I mean, what is that? A blouse?
Thank you, Your Honor.
I think so. She's wearing confusion.
Our argument revolves around
Shame.
around count
Shame is
1
what
and
she's
3,
wearing.
that they're confusing to the jury. They would be confusing to a jury when they have to find this after the trial to find this these elements. And
I wish they'd turn up the volume.
I see that the state is saying that the crimes of murder and the crime of grand theft are not necessarily the crimes in the conspiracy. However, this doesn't make any sense because the conspiracy to commit murder and the conspiracy to commit grand theft are two separate conspiracies. And I'll go through that in just a bit. But we do believe that it would be confusing to a jury to be able to figure out what elements were met and when the elements were met and to what extent the elements were met. The burden is high. The burden is
I'm going to pause this.
They meet some of the burden at a different standard, perhaps a probable cause standard, or perhaps a more likely than not, or a different standard. That would be severely detrimental to our client. So I think one of the things that we need to think about in reviewing whether or not these charges, conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft in counts 1 and counts 3, should be split off or bifurcated. I think we need to say when does the conspiracy end? Well, one would think that the conspiracy to commit murder would end when the alleged murder occurs. That would be the end of the conspiracy. The state has pled in count 2 of the indictment that the murder of Tylee Ryan occurred on or between September 8th and September 9th.
Show that husky's face when they say Tylee's name.
Conspiracy. The conspiracy to commit the crime would have been completed, and the conspiracy to the murder would have been over. One would think that the conspiracy to commit grand theft ended when the grand theft was over. And the pleadings in count 7 of the indictment indicate that the grand theft would have occurred after the murder. The murder of Tylee Ryan
Yep.
was pledged to have allegedly occurred no later than September 9th. And the murder of J.J. Vallow in count 3, that murder was alleged to have been committed on or before September 23rd. And so the grand theft was alleged to have occurred pursuant to their indictment between October 1st and January 22nd. So the conspiracy, while we can have a before portion of the conspiracy,
Thank you, Darkness Exposed.
October 1, 2019, and January 22nd, 2020. Oh, thank you. And so they're saying that the conspiracy, while it could have possibly developed earlier, it could not possibly have ended in the same time that the conspiracy to commit murder would have ended. So the conspiracy to commit murder would have ended at the very least, at the very most, on September 23rd. The conspiracy to commit the grand thefts were committed between October 1st, allegedly, and January 22nd of the following year.
That was the object of the conspiracy, you dumbass.
So, Mr. Thompson, can you have an ongoing conspiracy of different offenses? I mean, a classic conspiracy is like a drug conspiracy where somebody's
Look at her with you.
doing a delivery of a controlled substance, and then a week later another delivery, and a week later another delivery, and that's all part of a grand conspiracy charge that would have multiple offenses. Isn't the time frame open through all of these charged offenses? Sort of, but not after the conspiracy.
Sorta.
Once the murder is committed.
Thank you.
You don't use the word
Thank you,
sorta
Judge.
in a court of law.
There's maybe a cover-up
Right.
or a conspiracy to, I don't know. After the fact,
I don't
some
know,
sort
he
of,
said.
some sort of other charge. But once the conspiracy to commit murder, once the murder is over, the conspiracy is over, right? I don't
Well,
see
let's
how
hope.
that could go anywhere further. And so,
Right?
with the conspiracy
The
to commit
hell?
murder over, I think that's where that charge ends. The conspiracy to commit murder ends at the end of the murder.
I
And so
don't think so.
they can tag on
But that's the
conspiracy to
point.
commit grand theft.
The object
Thank
of
you,
the
Jill.
Conspiracy to
conspiracy.
commit murder. And in fact, the state says that in their brief, they say that Idaho Code 18-1701 gives the punishment for conspiracy as punishable upon the conviction in the same manner and in the same extent as provided under the laws of the state of Idaho for the punishment of the crime
Girl,
or
don't look at
offense
God. That's my
to
God.
which the combined had committed.
Cunning
And
linguist,
in
you
layman's
kind of
terms,
subbed
I
it up
think,
for me.
if I'm reading it correctly, and I may not be,
Cunning
but
linguist
in
here.
layman's terms, this is what I feel,
I'm looking.
that if they find a conspiracy to commit murder, then the punishment is death. And that is the conspiracy to commit. That's the
Looking
conspiracy.
for it.
If the conspiracy to commit grand theft, the punishment would be up to 14 years in prison.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like there are two possible punishments to this one conspiracy, either death or life in prison or
Oh my God. I
14
just want to
years in
smack the
prison.
shit out of her.
And so, to me, it sounds like there are two conspiracies. I understand the state's position where they say the conspiracy is the crime, not the murder and not the grand theft. But when you make a statement like that, you have to back it up with the facts that say, well, yeah, once they've committed the conspiracy, we have to now go to the punishment, and their punishment doesn't meet the crime. The conspiracy punishment is one of 2 or 3 different punishments, either death, life in prison, or 14 years.
Just like Adam.
So it could be possible for this jury to find some elements of the grand theft, some elements of the murder, and say, maybe they met all the elements. We're not asking the court to, I did ask the court to strike the pleadings, but that was mostly in alternatives.
When they're in jail.
Our main issue is we don't want to have to do this again. We don't want to have to come back before the court after the trial's over, and it goes up on
don't
appeal,
threaten.
and the appeal court says we couldn't make heads or tails of what was going on with this conspiracy charge. And so we think that it's just easier for the court to say, you know what, bring it back to the grand jury, have them split it off, have them do one conspiracy to commit murder, one conspiracy to commit grand theft. It's just that easy, and therefore it doesn't. It brings the jury into a position of we find them either guilty or not guilty, not well guilty of the grand theft, but not of the murder, and it just makes it so that there's too many questions for the jury. I'm not saying that the jury isn't sophisticated enough to sort through that, but I've been practicing law for 20 years, and this particular charge baffled me, and I
Just
had
fix
to
the
work
damn
through
charge,
it, and I
make her
still
happy.
have
Shit.
issues working through it. And this is what I do for a living, so it just makes it all the more difficult.
That's what she does for a living.
Another point, Your Honor, is that this is just fundamentally unfair. The state argues in line 5 of their jury instructions, says further the explicit language by establishing that the state needs to prove that the defendant intended that at least one of the crimes would be committed.
She loves this shit.
Emphasize the words at least one of the crimes. So in my mind, that infers that the defendant need not even contemplate the commission of the murder, only the grand theft, or vice versa, only the grand theft and not the murder. And so I have issue with the state saying, hey, we can lump all of these things into one conspiracy charge, and as long as they find one of those conspiracies, then the conspiracy is met. And so if we're doing that,
so it's ended.
then you're asking the jury to find not only was it murder, or was it grand theft, or was it something else that the state is going to come up with between now and the trial, and how do we punish that? And so now we have to go back to the jury and say, okay, so which conspiracy did you find? Well, we found that there was conspiracy to commit grand theft, but not conspiracy to commit murder. Or we found that there was conspiracy to commit murder, but not conspiracy to commit grand theft. And so
Thomas has legal diarrhea or something.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to do it that way. And we're bringing it before the court because we believe that we're just looking for a fair trial. We just want the jury to be able to go back to the jury room and say,
Girl, fix your face.
this is the conspiracy. The conspiracy is to commit murder. Or yes, this is the conspiracy. The conspiracy is to commit grand theft. That's all we want. That's all we're looking for is answer that the jury would need to come back.
No, they want the grand jury indictment messed with.
I don't know. I don't know that it's appropriate, and I don't think it's fair for the jury to have to do that. The state further takes.
I don't think it was fair for them.
Takes issue with my 8A argument. They indicate that 2 or more offenses may be charged. I say that the 2 or more offenses may be charged on the same indictment. However, Criminal Rule 8A indicates that those charges need to be separate counts. And so the state's attorney says that there's one conspiracy for two different crimes, and I'm not analyzing that, and there's no analysis to that. Well, my analysis is, Judge, the state's wrong. The state needs to realize that, this needs to go back to the grand jury, and it needs to be conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit grand theft. The state goes on to make an untimely argument, that we are untimely in our arguments. We would ask the court to rule on the merits of the case and not on the untimeliness. The state has, in my opinion, waived their right to make this untimely argument. We got their response to this motion just 6 days ago, which is, in my opinion, untimely. I think a 7-day notice is pretty standard around the state. Also, the state, the court is aware of how much discovery is involved in this, sorting through that, and perhaps I wouldn't even say that normal cases we would be able to find this within the 28-day time frame that the legislature has let it or that the rules have established. But this particular case, is far in excess of the time frames and the process and the time needed to just digest this case and the discovery. And the state, when I filed my discovery my discovery request on April the 18th, the state failed to respond in a timely manner. They responded timely, I guess I should say that, on May the 2nd, which would have been the 14 days, but they responded by telling me, oh, by the way, we'll get you your discovery within 14 days of May 2nd. So they were untimely on that. And yet they're telling me that I need to, I was untimely on filing this motion and that I should have come to the court for relief and request. I would also note that the docket indicates that the court didn't release the testimony of the grand jury until June 21st, 2022, which is far beyond the time frame for us to file a 12B motion, which I think is excusable error based on the fact that we didn't have the information that we needed to dig into the indictment and dig into the things that we needed to do. Your Honor, in closing, I would just say to the court, and I know that the court is well aware of this, that a person's life is on the line. The prosecutor for the state of Idaho represents the interests of everybody in the state. That includes the defendant. They are duty bound.
Stupid runs in circles.
To look out for the procedural interests of the defendant, and what they're arguing, in my opinion, Your Honor, is wrong.
No, it's your opinion.
It's wrong.
Here are here
So
to
is
seek
murder.
justice, not just a win. And they're here to protect the Constitution and the rights of all of those in the state of Idaho, including those that they're prosecuting. And so I believe that the appropriate way to deal with this indictment is to return it to the grand jury and just have them split the two conspiracy charges so that it's easier for a regular jury, for a trial jury, to understand and to sort through this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Oh,
I'll hear
she
a
can mop the
response
damn
from the
floor.
state. Mr. Wood, I'd like to start off with the issue raised there at the end that was raised in your responses to both of these motions, that they were failed to be filed timely under Criminal Rule 12B. And let's start there and then
Work our
move
way
forward
back to
with the
normal.
substance of this motion. So if you'd like to present any argument at this time or notify the court if you're still holding on to your objection on the timeliness issue.
What the hell is
Thank
wrong
you,
with
Your
her?
Honor, we do maintain that objection. That's why we put it in our briefing. We do understand that 12B is a rule in which the court has a large amount of discretion to find good cause or reasonable neglect. However, the reason why we filed that is in neither of the defendant's pleadings was any good cause or reasonable neglect provided for why these were untimely. I do take issue with the idea that the state was late in discovery. We had already provided all of the discovery to co-counsel, and so I take issue with that.
Thank you.
Yes, we do maintain that objection, understanding the court has wide discretion on that issue.
All right. The argument on that. The court's reviewed that objection. It's made under time frames that are set forth in Rule 12. In particular, Rule 12D of the Idaho Criminal Rules indicates motions under Rule 12B must be filed within 28 days after the entry of a plea of not guilty or 7 days before trial, whichever is earlier. These are not within that time frame. However, that Rule 12D also has an important final sentence. The court may shorten or enlarge the time and for good cause shown or for excusable neglect may relieve a party of failure to comply with this rule. I've considered that objection and looked at the objection as well as the discretion built within the rule under 12D. And I do find, as it relates to both these motions, that good cause has been shown for the timing of the motions. One is the complexity of the case and volume of discovery. There's been delays through no fault of defense counsel with their client having been found incompetent for some time and then returned to competency for further proceedings. The court would note that trial is not scheduled in this matter until January, so we're still significantly before the time for trial. The court would also note that we discussed specific dates for the calendaring of these motions, along with the input from the state as to when these would be appropriate to be heard. And that rule goes to the filing of the motions, not necessarily the hearings, but given that determination and my discretion, I think it's important that these issues be determined on the merits and not procedurally under the rule. And so in my discretion, I am finding good cause exists for a factual and legal determination on both of these motions today. And so I'll deny the objection as it relates to timeliness. finally, on that discovery issue raised, I don't take that into consideration at all because there's been no motion to compel filed or any other notice to the court that that's at issue. So with that ruling made, Mr. Wood, if you would like to now present your response as to the merits of the motion on counts 1 and 3.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Man,
Going through the defense's motion, it seems
got the
that
shit out of her.
the primary concern is this is going to be confusing to a jury and unfair. The state just fundamentally disagrees. The defense's argument rests on what appears to be a false
Amen.
premise that a conspiracy to commit multiple crimes is in fact multiple crimes. I've outlined this in my brief, so I don't want to go over it word for word, but I just note that multiple cases have held, and this is just a few of them, that the conspiracy is the crime. It's one crime, however diverse its objects, and that's very important language. You could have a conspiracy to commit completely different crimes. The state believes that in this case there are 3 conspiracies. There are 3 agreements. That the crime of the conspiracy is the agreement and an overt act to further that agreement.
Yeah, because
whether
you
that
extra.
overt act
Don't
is
smirk.
otherwise illegal or not. It doesn't have to be. And so the state believes there are 3 criminal agreements. One was to murder Tylee Ryan and to steal the Social Security money that was allotted to her. One was to kill J.J. Vallow and to steal
Must be a
and
proud mom.
continue to collect the Social Security funds that were allotted to him. And those are the 2 counts that are at issue today. We do believe they are linked.
She's guilty.
And so they aren't completely separate. They are linked together.
You can see it in her face.
Jury will find that there was this agreement.
I agree.
That they agreed to commit those 2 crimes. When we talk about the elements,
Let me ask you a question on that, Mr. Wood. Are you saying it's a single conspiracy that envelops counts 1 and 3, or
No.
is count 1 a conspiracy and count 3 is a separate conspiracy?
yes,
And I know there's a 3rd conspiracy charge in the indictment under count 5.
right. I want to be very clear. We believe there are 3 separate conspiracies.
Okay.
Yep.
And so,
Okay.
in looking through the defendant's pleadings and listening to argument today, they speak a lot about the elements. Well, the elements for the conspiracy, we don't have to prove the elements of the underlying crimes for a conspiracy. I've listed the jury instructions in our briefing, and the substantive showing that the state needs to make and the jury needs to find beyond a reasonable doubt is that they agreed to commit a crime or crimes, and the jury
Amen.
instructions have this written right in. They have the S for crimes, a crime or crimes.
The S
And
is for
that the
crimes.
defendant intended that at least one of those crimes would be committed, and that one of the parties to the agreement performed at least one of the overt acts that are listed in the indictment. Those are the elements of the conspiracy, not whether or not the murder was completed. You don't even
Speaking
have
of
to
elements,
complete a crime for the conspiracy to be found. And so
Let me ask another question on that, Mr. Wood. When you're instructing a jury, do they not have to be told what the underlying elements of a crime are? In other words, the common lay person may well not know the difference between grand theft, burglary, and robbery. So if you just
quick
throw in,
Google
for
search
example,
will fill
grand
you right
theft
in.
and say, was there a conspiracy to commit grand theft? Does the jury have to be told, well, here's what a grand theft is under Idaho law, and lay out each of the elements so you
just
make
for
sure that they
safety.
know what the underlying crime is that was part of the conspiracy?
I would.
I believe so, but even if that's the case, they don't have to find the elements of the underlying crime. For instance, if person A and person B agree to kill person C, they've made the agreement. That's the first part.
They're done.
And one of them purchases a gun and they drive there, and then they get
Oh.
stopped by the police.
Oh, you
They
didn't think of that
still
one, Corey?
completed the crime
Damn
of
it.
conspiracy. Because the crime is the agreement and then taking an overt act in furtherance of it. It's not the completion.
Oh,
It's not It's not the completion of the crime. It's the crime is the agreement. And the case law on that is clear. And so even if the jury is entitled to see those elements, which they will in this case because they've been charged with those separate crimes as well.
What the hell?
They don't have to find those elements. They don't have to find a single element of those crimes to find the crime of conspiracy. I found no case law to suggest that that's the case. And I don't believe there is any case law to suggest that because the crime is the agreement in the overt act.
I just can't believe her facial expression.
When does it end? Well, and the court pointed out there can be ongoing conspiracies. And we do believe that the evidence here is going to show that it ended when Social Security stopped paying out the money that was being stolen.
What'd you spend that money on, Lori?
And so
she's thinking.
The conspiracy doesn't necessarily end when one of the crimes is completed. If there's multiple crimes, it ends when the whole conspiracy ends. And I don't think that's confusing. I don't think a jury's going to find that confusing.
Nope, she does not, Donna. That's going to be my face.
Again, Your Honor, I go back to the point that the law isn't unfair because it's bad for the defendant. That doesn't mean it's unfair.
Right.
The law's not unfair because it's not in the defendant's favor. No crime is in the defendant's favor. And so I take issue with that agreement that this is fundamentally unfair. I don't believe this is fundamentally unfair. I think these are charges based on the
accountability, like she says.
They didn't have a
she was
problem
born
with
before Jesus Christ
and
be accountable.
And so if they can find it, I think we can put it in front of the pettit jury, the trial jury.
Mr. Wood, I do have a few more questions on that, and I'll just let you know before the motion was filed, I've looked at these two counts a lot of times because I have not determined whether or not they're correct or incorrect, but I will say I haven't seen charges that had multiple crimes that were unrelated like that in a single count. And thinking in terms of going forward, my concerns have been two. Number one, how do you instruct a jury with a jury instruction? And maybe we'd start there. Do you believe a jury instruction would require a definition of all elements of both offenses if you're going to tell a jury they conspired to commit these two crimes? The way the indictment is written, it's in the conjunctive using the word and, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft. So that tells me the jury's got to find both of them, not one or the other, is the way it's written. And so do you think within a jury instruction, you've got to say, and here's what a first-degree murder is, and here's what a grand theft is, and is that all part of, now we're getting to I can see a very large and cumbersome jury verdict form or instruction on how do you find count one?
I have seen no case law or authority that says we have to provide the elements of the underlying crime to the jury. If it's out there, then it's out there. But I've seen, in my research on this issue, I've never seen any authority that states we have to do that. And I think the rationale behind that is those underlying crimes are not the crime. They're already being charged with the murder and the grand theft separately. At least Mrs. Daybell is charged with the grand theft separately. And so the jury will have those elements already anyway in this case. So if that is a concern for the court, I think it's already taken care of because the jury's going to see the elements of those crimes when they have to decide on the murder charges and the grand theft charges. I actually think that we are confusing the issue if you start giving the elements of the underlying crimes in a conspiracy instruction, because the conspiracy is the crime. The agreement is the crime. We've been given the jury instructions from the Supreme Court, and nothing in there says anything about the listing out the elements of the underlying crimes.
Okay, and I appreciate your response. And the next issue I had is back to what Mr. Thomas brought up also under the statute that sets out the punishment for conspiracy.
It's whatever the punishment is, as it states, for the crime or offenses they combine to commit. So if there were a guilty verdict returned on count 1 and or count 3, what do you believe is the statutory required maximum penalties for that offense, where you've got one offense that's only a 14-year maximum, one is up to life in prison or death? Do you pick the higher one? Do you pick the lower one? Does it matter? Do you pick both? Could they run consecutive?
Oh my God.
Those are questions I have also with these two separate different offenses, and going to what would a punishment be then if you got there?
Your Honor, I don't think it's that confusing. I think they're punishable by the underlying sentences. So they can receive the death penalty for conspiracy to commit murder. I think that's well established. And I think in this specific case, if the jury is to find them guilty here, the ultimate punishment for that is the death penalty. And I think when you just look at it in a common sense approach, that lower sentence is swallowed up in the higher sentence anyway. And so I don't find that to be an issue. I think the statute is clear. I think the statute it uses the plural with the word offenses as well. So I think it already contemplates that. I think whatever the higher one is the one that controls.
Okay, I appreciate your response on that question as well.
Any other questions?
That's the only questions I have at this point.
I would just say, again, Your Honor, this is not, we disagree that this is confusing. And without going into the grand jury proceedings, the grand jury didn't have a problem with it. I don't think a trial jury will have a problem with it. Because again, if you really break it down to what the crime is, it's not that confusing. The crime is that they agreed to murder someone
3,
and steal money
4,
linked to that
5,
person.
10, 11.
And the crime is the agreement and an overt act. And as long as we establish that, then the jury can make the finding either guilty or not guilty. And I think when we start talking about introducing all the other elements, I don't know that there's any legal rationale or authority that provides for that. Again, I haven't found any. Upon receiving, I would note that the defense hasn't given any authority for that. And when I received their brief, we researched this before we ever put this in front of a grand jury, researched this issue, and then when we received their brief, we went back and researched again. I haven't found any authority that says that's the case, that we need to do that. And so, based on that, we would ask the court to deny the motion.
Astral projecting.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Thomas, would you like to present your rebuttal argument?
Just a few points, Judge. I'm a little bit concerned that the state is indicating that they researched this issue prior to presenting it to the grand jury. So I've never done a grand jury. Okay, I was a prosecutor for a few years in Bingham County, but I never did a grand jury. So I'm not really familiar, and as are most attorneys, not really familiar with the process of the grand jury. But my understanding of a grand jury is that you present them with evidence, they go back, they deliberate, they decide what they want to charge it with, and then they come back to the prosecutor and say, these are the charges we're willing to commit, to indict this person on. What Mr. Wood is intimating, I think, is that they decided what the charges were going to be. They presented the document to the grand jury and asked the grand jury to just sign off on it. And so I'm not sure that that's appropriate. I'm not sure that that's the way it should be. I don't know, and I probably will never know because the grand jury deliberations are secret, and I'm pretty sure that
What the hell? What the hell?
it was led down a path that they weren't prepared to sign off on. If I'm confused, if the court is confused with counts 1 and counts 3, I don't know what the grand jury would think. I'm assuming that they too may be, at least 1 or 2 of them may have been confused. The second thing I have is that, the state is relying upon this Fowerk versus United States, a 1919 case, where it indicates, and they quote it, the conspiracy is the crime and that is one, however diverse its objects. When you read the actual opinion, it's a very short 6-page opinion, well written, but you can tell that it's very political. It's a very political opinion regarding the war that we were about to go into, and there were issues there. And so I think that the language that they took out of there, perhaps not taken out of context, but we need to look at it in what the surrounding circumstances were at the time. I mean, we were about to go to war. The person that they were filing this charge against was the person that owned a newspaper in Missouri, and he was writing things that were bad for the war effort. And the Supreme Court of the United States, I think, latched onto that. And so I think we should take that case and that particular citation that they're heavily relying upon with a grain of salt, or at least I would ask the court to review that case. And I'm sure it will. I'm sure it had that all in mind, and maybe it has already. But I would just, I lay concern upon that, upon the state relying upon that particular case and upon that particular statement in that case, where they're relying so heavily upon that. In that case, where they're relying so heavily upon that. Other than that, Your Honor, I have no objections, or no, I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you for the argument.
Yeah.
Woman, your children have been murdered and are dead, and you're smiling?
Particular
By
motion,
you.
then the court will also take that matter under advisement, do some additional research and review your briefings.
No, throw it in the
Consider
trash.
the arguments presented here today. The court will issue a written decision on the second motion as
Oh,
well.
Lord.
So I believe that concludes the proceedings for this morning. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Archibald, is there anything further from the defense today?
We have a matter to take up with the court under seal. We don't have
No.
anything more in public.
Okay, we'll take that up after. And Mr. Wood, anything further today from the state?
No,
Thank you. All right, if everyone will give me just a brief moment, I want to consult with the bailiff, and then we'll conclude the hearing.
Yeah, bye, Hooker. Jeez Louise. Y'all
Where
are
do you want me
freaking.
to start? Where do you
Y'all,
want
but
me to
I just
start?
want to start first by just saying thank y'all. You
All right,
guys
this
are
time, if everyone
amazing.
can remain seated, we're going to have the defendant taken from the courtroom, along
Put her
with,
back in her
Chad
jail
Lori
cell.
if you'd like,
Yeah.
and then we'll conclude the hearing. So once that's complete, I'll advise the audience when you're allowed to get up and leave. So we can go ahead and go off the record at this point. And
Back to the
I appreciate
pokey.
everyone's consideration of the court rules today and the way you've conducted yourself, and this hearing's concluded.
Well, at least it wasn't blue. She wasn't wearing blue. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. So, yeah, where do we start? Where do we start? But I just, y'all are freaking amazing. Let me tell you that. Y'all have cracked me up. Oh my God. Thank you. All right, KJ, let her rip, Tater Chip.
I just wonder if this woman actually believes that it's okay to sit in there in her dang ponytail, hopping around in her chair, smiling, giggling. Then at some point she's acting so like she can't even believe she's there, and how dare they, and all this and that. I mean, what does she even realize that those children are still in cold storage? Her own children have not
Yeah.
even been buried yet, and
No.
she's sitting there like that.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the difference, Cresha? What's the difference between she walked in coming back from Hawaii, smiling and leaning over and hopping around in her chair
if this
bouncing
woman
her
was,
curls?
if this woman was not in the whatever, in the jail, if she was not jailed, do you guys think that she would have continued her conspiracy to murder? I mean, she would still be a danger to public, oh my God, she's a danger to society.
That's called an aggravating factor, and I guarantee you it's going to send her into the death penalty onto death row, because she is a
Yeah.
danger to society.
I mean, if I don't know, it's hard to put myself with her or whatever, but I try to be as like empathetic as I can. And if I had done all the heinous stuff that I'm being accused of, I'm just gonna say that. I mean, I know, and you know, and we all know, what she's done and what he's done, Chad's done, and what Alex has done. We know what they've done. I mean, we're here, and I just I had it, and then I saw Larry's comment. I was like, what?
I am telling you now, Krisha, the look on her face when they used the word Tylee.
Yes.
She looked like I mean, I know y'all are going to think I'm crazy.
No.
But I'm telling you, it's like in the back of her mind, she knew. She damn well knew.
Mm-hmm. I concur. I do. And I mean, type of 1, if y'all think that she would murder again. Type of 2, if you don't. I mean, because, that's what I was going to say. It seems like she would be, like, if I were her, if I were her, I would at least, like, try to convey that I'm sorry or that I got duped or whatever her damn defense is going to be. I have no idea. She is a piece of freaking work and a piece of shit. I'm sorry. I said that out loud.
I saw, just as Shenanigans says, no remorse whatsoever. I didn't see any sadness on her face. The only time that she looked like she was frowning and everything was because you just damn well know. She knows she is caught. She is in the corner. She is a demon in the corner who has been caught and she can't get out of it.
Nope. And so it reminds me of that that cellmate or whatever that came out and said, that whenever Lori was going to court for the first time, back in March when she got extradited from Hawaii, and she looked at her and ran her finger or her hand all the way down from her leg all the way up to the top of her head and said, "Let's see if this is worth $1 million." This is her showtime. This is her red carpet, her debut, like it's so vile. Like I saw somebody else say that and it was a good word, vile. And she does, Isabel, I'm going to agree with you. It's good to see you. It's so, I don't know. Words fail me. And
Did
yes.
anybody at all see a panoramic view or anything of who was out in the courtroom at the time other than Hermosillo? And was that Detective Hope?
That was Detective Hope, Hermosillo. I only know Chuck by his first name. The big guy is Chuck.
Was there anyone there for Lori? That should tell you everything you need to know.
Tina Reddington says no. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, CC Johnson 67. I totally agree. There's something wrong with her. She's not incompetent. She's very well competent. She's just freaking, I don't like, is it like Isabel said, she's possessed. Like, there's no other word. It's
it'd be different. Like we said, it'd be different if she just, had her head down or she actually had any kind of remorse on her face. It was almost like a flippant, got her chin up in the air. Like, y'all are not going to do this to me.
Right. Like, yeah. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I talked through it. I'm holding back. Like, I really just want to just roast her. That's what I do. That's how I get through all this. I yell at the TV. I rant and rave every time I'll watch it. I'll have a new commentary. I have new material all the time.
You and Larry wouldn't have to be there for her to know exactly where your heart is in all of this. I know y'all want to do the right thing. Y'all want God's justice and everything that y'all been through along with Krisha and Jason and the rest of the family.
The whole
You know, like I said earlier, you know, we were all upset because they weren't going to be together today where we could see the totality of evil. But then it's like I felt ashamed. I'm like, you know what? The family, think about what the family has to deal with on a moment to moment basis.
yeah, it sucks.
And
It
you
sucks.
see her, and I know at one time you might have recognized her years ago, and then you see her sitting in that chair over there between them two defense attorneys. The only thing that I can say about it all is that she is heading either to a plea agreement, you know, the reality that's going to have to set in with her, or she's heading right to life or death.
I s-
You know, one or the other. There is no way she's getting out of this.
right, right. And what the hell was Thomas saying? Like, it was so odd and strange that my brain couldn't comprehend it. You know, I don't speak legalese. I don't understand it very much either. But I mean, you kind of get the language, you know, and you're like, what? What? Okay. I mean, like I was like a quick Google search, you know, and you'll know the definition of. Oh, that's
You
just
see
it.
down there what Larry said? Larry says, I think when her attorney said she is charged with murder and theft numerous times, I saw guilt. Like, oh, you know, whatever. But let me tell you something.
Well,
Even
let's.
my husband
Larry can
said
cuss.
Larry is very intuitive. He can see real people. He
Yep.
sees the real deal. This man, he's got a wealth of experience. He can see it. You cannot recognize something unless you've seen it in your lifetime. And I'm
Real
assuming if
recognizes
he,
real. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
I mean, you
I
know,
agree.
she definitely in that moment. It's almost like this, and y'all are gonna think I'm silly for saying it, but when you really look at her facial expressions, and I encourage everybody to go back and rewatch it, just
True.
watch her face. It's almost like this twitching or some kind of feeling on the back of your neck that perks
Yeah.
up. That
Yes.
is something God given. I'm telling y'all.
Right. I mean, that's the only thing you can put your finger on, right? That's the only thing. Because it's not
In terms of,
recognizable.
yeah, in terms of communication, and this is fact. 85% of the communication that human beings do is 85% nonverbal. It's body
Right.
language, it's facial expressions. That, you know, and I'm going to be interested to be looking around to see these. There are some professional body language experts out here, but I guarantee you, if any of y'all do run across them, the things that you were feeling and thinking in those moments when you were looking at her face, these people are just going to back up what you already know.
Right. Oh, man. Thank you, Kathy. Yes, y'all. I'm trying to move along over, to the Patreon. I've been busy. That's all I do. I'm just busy. And I mean, good. It's good. It's constructive. So, and it helps me process all this. It's so much. It is absolutely so much. Even though I mean, I could sum it up in less than 30 seconds, you know? I mean, it's just like, that's just being so vague though, you know? And I really just want to, I've been studying the influences of of all the people around her that, and, and him and Chad that influenced and created or fed or enabled or, you know, um, just created this I don't know, whatever this is, this evil crap, this horrible thing. And I just, anything to do to identify red flags, um and just kind of create some extra warnings, or just for people, indicators, that's the word, to stop this from happening again, or at least slow it down. Shoot.
Charlie Hammond, the reason why that the defense was bringing up about the war and all this and that is because it was a citation from the state that is in case law. And what they were trying to say was, hey, you got to take into context what was going on back here. And maybe this doesn't apply for today. And I'm just going to say this we all have our opinions. I have full faith and confidence in Judge Boyce. It might seem like he's trying to rule and give them more understanding than the victims and all this and that. But folks, you don't want anything to go back on appeals. You don't want them to say they should have. If Judge Boyce would have said, you know what, y'all went past that 30-day mark. And technically I can do this. I have leeway, but you know what? I'm just going to be Judge Boyce and I'm going to say, sorry, Charlie. Well, they would list that as an appeals issue down the road. And a higher court would say, you know what, Judge Boyce, you could have given them some leeway over the complexity of this case and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
We've got to decide how we feel about Judge Boyce's administration of the justice here. And I'm telling y'all, I've been frustrated with him, but I think he's doing a good job.
I have to agree with you on that one, KJ. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I mean, not guilty, but it does seem like they're winning. It does seem, because they already are, they're breathing. So there you go. That's a luxury that was not afforded to Charles, Tammy, Tylee, JJ, and Joe, even, I mean, it's not cool.
I want to take a moment to thank Kathy and Jennifer and also Big E and Jen and everyone else that's done everything they can and especially to all of y'all. Some of your comments, I mean, I wanted to giggle too, even though this is a serious thing, but you've got to understand when Crescia's, letting off a little laugh because she sees something funny on a comment, this is relieving her trauma and her stress over all this. And I'd rather her be laughing or giggling than I would be her. I'm sure she has many days along with the rest of the family where it's depressing. It's sad.
It is. I have to find humor in this. And so it is awkward to have, to react or respond in the ways that we do, but it's how we deal with trauma. It's how we deal with things that just aren't right. It's just mind-boggling, and I'm less worried about my response, to her and him, and more worried about what they did. And this is it just brings back that whole conversation that was caught on or that was released at Chad's preliminary hearing of Melanie Gibb and Lori, going back and forth and battling scripture and core horror. Core horror and all that stuff. And when she told Melanie Gibb, when we stand in front of Jesus Christ and have to be accountable, I usually have it memorized verbatim, but right now my mind's skitzing out. But I mean, I always go back to the things that I've heard her say. I know she said, I've read in the texts. I go back to everything that she says, and she will have to be held accountable in this life and in the afterlife.
Like mother of two, Amy asked, "What was Chad there today?" And thank you for your donation, mother of two, Amy. Chad was not there because initially he was supposed to be here today. A lot of y'all already know this over a DNA motion. Well, they ironed it out and resolved it. The state did with the defense. And so he did not even have, there was nothing talked about today that was concerning him. But then again, it seems to me with co-defendants and co-conspirators that he should have been there today because anything that affects her is going to affect him in some of these charges because two or more people conspire together to commit whatever. And he should have been there today. And I wanted him there today. I wanted him to look upon that ponytail wearing hussy. Right? I wanted him to see what he did. And
just to watch them both squirm, or whatever. Or I don't even know.
She squirmed, Crescia. She kept hopping up and down in that chair. And she kept her arms underneath the table, which is indicative to me, and I think many of y'all can agree, the woman is scared crapless, and I'll say crapless.
Yeah.
She is. She can put that face on all she wants, but she knows she is in for it.
That's done. It's done. It's a done deal.
Thank you, shenanigans.
Yeah, and thank you, Anna Brown. I'm trying to think. San Willow. Everybody that has
And
donated
Jason
super
and
chats.
Jason is the level-headed man that I love, who says that let's hope that she keeps that face in trial so the jury will see the heartless woman.
Exactly.
Perfect comment there, Jason.
It is. You get a star. Yes. I mean, Jason's my rock. Yeah. This is just, I don't know. It's like I want to watch it
Cassie
again.
Bristol says 100% done. 100% done. We have to, some of us, we get frustrated about this process, this adjudication process, but y'all, this woman is going down. She is going down, and so is Chin. They're going
Yep.
down.
Yep. I mean, it's time. It's time. They can't just keep doing and getting away, especially Lori. I don't know about Chad. I don't know what all skeletons he has in his closet, but I'm sure there's quite a few,
Well,
from the looks of
Candace
it.
and my friend Jenny says she was shaking her leg, indicates she wants to get out of there. I saw that, and I'm telling y'all, the woman, she can have those facial expressions. Those facial expressions that show no remorse, and she's smiling, or she looks mad because she don't want to be there. That's called evil. That's what I consider, and y'all might disagree.
I
That is,
agree.
to me, demon possession. That's what that is.
I'm telling you, y'all seen her driver's license picture. Her and Chad, they've shown it, throughout the case, and her eyes were as blue, crystal blue as possible. They were just the most crystal blue color you've ever seen. And when I saw her first arrest picture, her mugshot or whatever in Hawaii, her eyes were black. And she physically, oh my gosh, sorry. Thank you, allergies. But she just looked possessed. There's no other word for it. Her and Chad both took on physical changes. I mean,
I'm sure they've got plenty of changes sitting in them jail cells eating them sack lunches, but I know what you're talking
right?
about. But I'll tell you this right now. The woman, she's away from the podcast. She's away from her king. She can't have communication with him. This was going on. I mean, people can say, well, she got involved with Julie Rose stuff, or she listened to Chad too much. This woman she was teetering
A
on it
ticking,
before
ticking
she even
time
got
bomb.
involved with these people.
She was a ticking, ticking time bomb, just like she said. And it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and it's devastating. It's disheartening. It is not fair. Because we would do anything. I know that everyone here today, and I can speak for myself. I'm sure my family feels the same, because it's. I don't even know where I was going with that. I was going somewhere, and then I hate when this happens.
It's just a lot to take in for you,
It
Krisha.
is.
It's very traumatic. And everyone on here that has been with you and supported you, we understand that, that's why I feel like God has given the patience in all of this for all of us.
Steadily. I mean, it's a work. It's a work in progress.
I ain't got no patience, girl. I'm gonna tell you that. I went off the deep end yesterday, but I'll tell you what, I can get myself back into check when I realize that the family members are really what I need to be focusing on. This isn't about me. This is about y'all. This is about getting justice for these beautiful children, for Tammy, for Charles, Joe Ryan. This is, I mean, ultimately we're talking about
victims.
Y'all, we're seeing it unfold in front of us. We are
Yeah.
looking at good versus evil here.
in real time. You know, it's a amazing and tragic experience, but we've all gone through this together, whether I'm related or not. You know, um, it pissed you guys off. It still does, and that's why you're still here. I mean, at least that's what I think. And I mean, what I was gonna say earlier was we'd do anything to have the victims here with us right now. Tomorrow, my Uncle Charles would have turned 65. Um, and you know, that really weighs on my heart because because people were selfish and people were greedy and people put themselves above everybody else's needs, especially, you know, two children. And it's just tragic. It's so tragic and it's preventable, you know, the amount of enablement this woman, and I mean, I focus on her because in my opinion, she as a mother has an added, it's just like an added just understanding, like you a responsibility to protect your kids as much as you possibly can. You know, like you throw your life down for them. And this woman was like, you know, raising flags and here you go. Here, you know. Oh, pick me, pick me. Don't forget about me. Don't forget about me. There you go. I like to use her words.
Well, I can say this. It hurts me and it bothers me when I hear her defense attorneys, and they've got to do their job. But it
I
bothers
get
me
it.
when they say this is my client's life on the line, and these people are still breathing, and they're still being able to put food in their mouth, and they're still able. Lori she can deny it all she wants, but she's got to go to the bathroom. She's got to she gets to brush her hair. She gets to do
Mhm.
all these things that her own beautiful daughter, uh, Lori gets to dress up now. She gets to wear her hair in curls and put it up in a unicorn ponytail.
Yeah,
Her daughter
glasses
will
or
never get to do
contacts.
that.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep.
I mean, it was
And
pathetic.
Tammy too. Tammy
It's
too.
it's
Tammy could be playing with
pathetic.
her grandbabies right now. Tammy could be playing with her grandbabies. And you know she loved them. And I mean, w- that's just that empathy part, you know, where we can put ourselves into you know other people and feel what they feel. And I mean, I picture all these things, all the woulda, shoulda, couldas, and it doesn't make sense. It's appalling. It's you know all those words that fail me at times like these. If my feelings, if y'all could read my feelings, you know, or read my heart, you know exactly what I'm saying, and that's why I appreciate y'all so much.
That
You know,
hussy could have wore her hair any way she wanted to today, and I was stupid enough to believe after she came back from Hawaii. After that, I thought, well, now she's in trouble. She's going to start looking like a studious secretary. They're going to dress her up as
yep,
some prim conservative woman. This woman looks like that one of y'all on here was talking about. What's her name? The Ciaro. How do you say her name without her?
Cairo,
Yeah,
Cairo, Cairo.
without her guitar. She looked like her without her guitar. I that was probably one of the funniest. She does. I don't. And you got to stop and think, was she going to dress like this and do her hair like this thinking Chad was coming? Yes, she knew before she came in today he wouldn't be there. But just think, would she have done anything different? Would she have sat in there and smiled and smirked and looked over at Chad? Let me tell you what, there's going to come a time they're both going to be sitting in there. We're going to see the dynamic, and everyone's going to see clear cut evidence of two diabolical, evil people.
Right. Amen to that. And Isabel says, I still remember the time where we were only searching to find the kids, how we were hopeful to find them in a place where they were probably brainwashed. And now we are here searching for justice. you know? And it's true. We've been through so much together. This community is because of them. The victims impacted us so much that they brought us together. They've made this community, in my opinion, you know, and they continue to. Um, it's just I don't know. There's so many, and there were so many great comments, y'all. Oh my god, I usually, you know, I leave my live chat up or whatever so that on replay, you know, it can be um, seen and everything. And on my TV, it just doesn't provide all that. So I usually don't get to read all the comments whenever you know, when I leave my little YouTube area, I go back to my bedroom and I watch it on the TV just to make sure I didn't say anything too bad. You know, I'm just like, okay, because I'm my own worst critic, you know. And I try to stay in line as much as possible and stay balanced. So I check myself usually after I correct myself, but no. Anyways, ha ha ha. I don't know. Oh. And then
Well,
I
I'll
woke
tell
up
you
late this
this.
morning. Oh my god, I woke up late and I was like, okay, God, no. You know, but it is what it is. And
Yeah. Well, let me just say this. Uh, when Candace and my friend Jenny says that no one can control her in terms of
oh,
Chad or whether she was taking in all this garbage and all this fringe stuff, I'll tell you who controlled her. Evil itself. That's
yeah,
what controlled her because there is no other reasoning. This isn't me attacking her. This is her.
no,
This was her being controlled by evil that attacked innocence.
yeah,
Absolute, beautiful, loving innocence.
yep. It nothing but, you know. And I wonder about Colby, you know, I think about Colby and Cole and Zach, you know, my cousins and Colby, he's my step cousin, you know. Um, I just hope that they're okay and doing well also, you know. Um, Also, and my aunts and my uncles, and there's friends. Tammy's, you know, parents and her sister and her brother. Just there's so many people affected by this. That ripple effect is strong. It is definitely strong. I thought he would
In,
be
yeah.
65. Mom, I didn't know he would be 66. I don't know. So he would have been 66 tomorrow. And then Chad turned 54 in prison or in jail. I'm sorry, in jail on August 11th.
I'm sure Bubba threw him a party.
I hope so. I
I
hope Bubba
should,
and all his friends threw him a party. You know,
but
well
more,
wishes.
yeah. Well, on a more truthful and serious note, Indian Paintbrush says Bible quote regarding Lori and her company. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. And I've said it a million times. She could sit there in that chair and say to herself, oh, I was doing God's will, all she wants. She
Mm-hmm.
can say whatever she wants. That doesn't make it so.
Yep. Yep. I've heard you say that. Something close to that. I remember when you narrated the train dream, Chad's train dream or whatever, and I remember I forget the quote, the
That's it.
verse or
That was
whatever.
the exact scripture that
Okay. Well, that's
yeah.
something.
So that's interesting that it would come back that way, huh?
Yeah, and I clicked on
where
it
where
before you
Indian
said it.
Paintbrush says, yeah, Indian Paintbrush says, Lord, Lord, did you, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesize in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name? And Indian Paintbrush is saying basically that Jesus, and it is in Scripture, he's going to look at Lori, he's going to look at Chad. If this is God's will, and say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you.
Right. Right. I
Again,
get
this
it.
is God's will we're talking about. This isn't this, I have my views and I try my best, but I'm just going to say this. God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven, plain and simple, regardless of what
Mhm.
goes on down here.
Uh-huh. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And that's why I'm definitely grateful that I'm not the judge, here on earth and in heaven. I'm
Well, I guess I'm one of these type people that believes that if you're standing in a store and you see someone steal something
mhm.
and you call them a thief, you're not judging them. You're seeing it for what it
You're
is.
calling it out, right? I get it. I do. Um, you're just being real, raw, authentic.
If a police officer's called and brought over there and that person's arrested for stealing something out of the store, then it's man's law that judges that. They
Right.
adjudicate it, they judge it,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. I mean, and that's how I mean, just as children, I remember going into K&B drugstore and I don't remember how old I was, but I was little. I was young. And there was like some candy on the floor. I don't even think it was in a wrapper. I don't even remember all the way, but I do remember when we got home and my mom brought me back to the store. And I don't really remember much past that. It's a very vague memory, but I do remember her bringing me back to the store and I had to, let the store workers know that I had grabbed some candy off the floor. And I mean, it stays with me, that stays with me.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
like when my husband Wayne was a little boy, he went to a barber shop. He was raised by his grandfather, and he looked over in the windowsill and he saw one of those Pepsi caps. You remember the Pepsi caps where you could win $1 or whatever under the
yeah,
cap? Well, he
yeah.
just put it in his pocket. And then when they went home, his grandfather said, "Where did you get that?" He said, "It was up in the window." And they had to come back. And he said that stuck with him for a very long time. He didn't think he was doing anything wrong. He just saw it sitting up in the window and he put it in his pocket. I think he was like 5 or 6 years old. And, you know,
Yeah.
so things like that teach us lessons. But this goes back to something important, Crescia, that you just brought up by bringing all that up.
Good.
In that, these people did not believe they were doing anything wrong
Still
in
don't.
turn. At least that's what they wanted people to believe.
I think
They
they still
blanketed
do.
themselves in what they considered righteousness or divinity or
Uh-huh.
whatever you want to call it, and
Ego.
they thought if they were doing this for God or whatever, that it would all work itself out. Well, I can tell you right now, God doesn't wish for children to be murdered or innocent adults for that matter. He doesn't like a thief. The Ten Commandments are clear, and there you go.
Okay. You're right. I get it. And you just brought this up, and I happen to have it right here within my reach. If not, I was going to go run and grab it. But I have been working so hard. And I mean, this is coming from somebody who has never been Mormon or really religious in that sense. I mean, I don't know how to say that. I've always believed in God, but I never was drawn to the institution, the church, or whatever. Um, and so I have, through this case, through all this stuff, I wanted to know what I didn't understand. And what I didn't understand was the scripture, was um what basis could they be feeling all this righteousness, where, let me go see. I just wanted to look for myself. And so, I mean, what I'm about to read to you guys, I just want to give you a snippet because I've been working on putting together a presentation video or whatever, however we're going to do it. And it's just so much. But Mike Stroud and the podcast and everything that he puts out there, okay? I mean, to me, I'm like, okay, I see it now. And this it came right out and just slapped the crap out of me, okay? Oh, Jason. Oh. We love all you guys. Thank y'all so much. So let me read this to you real quick. There is so much more to calling an election, but that's all I'm going to go into right now. That's some historical facts about it. What is it? Like he's saying, what is it? It means that you know in this life before death that you are sealed up to an inheritance in the celestial world, that there's a throne prepared for you, and that where God and Christ are, there you will be also. And what he's I actually started in the wrong spot, but hey. So, but he continues on to say that is not a couple sealing, meaning that's not a couple going to the temple and being sealed. All of these discourses and examples we're talking about took place before husbands and wives were sealed up by a priesthood ordinance. It's called the second anointing, and became members of a quorum of men and women called the anointed quorum, those in Nuavu. And the next paragraph, they continued to cross the plains under the direction of Brigham Young. They obtained these promises, and here's the key. It's not enough to obtain a promise from the mouth of a mortal man. I don't care if he's speaking to you by authority or if it's a priesthood ordinance performed under the direction of a priesthood authority in a temple of God. It's not enough and means nothing unless that ordinance that is performed is ratified and sealed by the Holy Spirit of promise. And I say that because I'm emphasis, which is the Holy Ghost. In other words, the more sure word, I need to find the direct one because it's right here. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is pretty much Lori's ticket to justify what she's done. In my opinion, I feel like I found it. It's in a podcast buried in the transcription notes. It wasn't even published anymore. Like it had been removed by, I guess, Mike Stroud, and I found it on somebody else's site. And I don't know where it is right now. So, but it caught my attention, and that's what I do. I just read everywhere that I can from all the people I know that she listened to religiously. We'll just say that she religiously listened to things, but that doesn't mean she got it. She missed the mark big time. And of course, I don't have that in front. I don't have it in front of me.
Well, she can say she has seen Jesus Christ, and he can say he's been Jesus Christ.
Right.
They can do that all they want to do, but in word and in deed, they show no pattern, no signs to me whatsoever in terms of this case of any Christ-like ability, anointing, anything like that for them to go on to do this. There's absolutely not a single iota of God's divinity in any of this. The only, in terms of what they did, what I do see though, and this is just me, I see God's love and his protection, his care, and his concern for all his children. And he is bringing all these people together. And we're all being where this is just me, two or more people gathered my name, there I'll be. And that's what I believe. I believe where two or more people believe, all the truths of Holy Scripture, that to me says it all for me. You don't go hiding, Jesus. You don't hide your light under a bushel. You let the world see it. And this is not what Chad and Lori did, or the rest of these cult members. They hid, they deceived, they lied to people. They would go to church on Sunday and then turn around and talk about things that were absolutely antithetical to their to the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints or to Christians as a whole.
Yep.
So that's just my opinion.
Yep, it's a good one. It's a good opinion, and I share it. Holy crap, I just ran all the way to my room and back. Oh my gosh. I need to get out more. I surprised Jason. I ran. And I was trying to get back before you finished talking.
I think the biggest problem with religion today is that people want to say, if you don't believe exactly the way I believe, then
Yeah.
you're wrong. This isn't a right or wrong thing in terms of, you know,
It's perception.
we have to understand that God, he's so, I can't grasp him. I mean,
Right.
my thoughts are not his thoughts. It's just, and, you know, the only way that I can feel close to God is through Jesus Christ. That's just me. And,
That's it.
that's just the way it is. There's no other way that I can, uh, you know, the Holy Spirit, the whole 9 yards. I can't, without Jesus Christ, I have nothing, absolutely nothing.
And yes, I agree. And it reminds me of when you just said Holy Spirit. I was watching Family Feud, and they said Holy Spirit activate, and I mean it cracks me up. Not that, but never mind. I just screwed it up. Guess y'all had to be there. But
If
Family
y'all don't
Feud.
mind, anyone that visits KJ and the Ray, I'm going to be posting an enlarged photo of the ponytail princess,
Oh Lord.
the queen there on my community wall. If y'all go back to rewatch the hearing and you pick up on anything, would you please just put it on the comment section below? That's
Yeah.
all I'm asking. Because, see, I'll never be able to think like you. You're the only you're ever going to be. And
Hmm.
so I'm reaching for your help. If you could do that, I would very much appreciate it.
I would too. I don't utilize my community wall that well at all, hardly, and I should. But I do go and I read and try to participate as much as I can in KJ's. So that's a good place, and that way it helps KJ to um, put it together for us, and then she presents it, and then I know it makes me think about everything differently. It's all about perspective and getting a better understanding and getting justice through understanding, as KJ always, has said. And at first I didn't get it. I didn't understand what she was saying. I was like, oh, okay.
Hey, this is
But it
the
is.
home base. Difficult research and Crescia K. Easton, the home base for me. I didn't know that when I first got into this. I was walking this alone.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
was
thought you
hoping for
were.
20 or 30 people to help me through the case. I didn't realize so many wonderful rays were going to show up, and
Mm-hmm.
now I realize now more than ever that this is a base community that comes out of Crescia K. Easton and difficult research, and I'm so thankful to even play a small part in it. I wish
Mm.
that all of y'all would know, that y'all could know how very blessed I
Oh,
feel to have all of y'all in my life, in Crescia's life, in the family's life. These people, I love them so dearly with everything that I am. And I'm so proud of you, Crescia, because you trigger me in a good way. You give me reasons to say because I kid y'all not. I'm one of these people that just want to throw my hands up in there and walk off in the woods. I'm
yeah.
one of these people that just say the heck with it, and just, but I can't do it now because y'all's love, and I feel it's love from God as well. It,
Yep.
it, it beckons me forward, and I just love y'all so dearly. All of you.
Oh, that's so sweet. And thank you. And I mean, I've been blessed to have such an amazing support system, and not a moment too soon. I mean, it's perfect. It's God's timing, and y'all are God's army, in my opinion. Um,
Larry Woodcock says, Crescia, KJ, love y'all. I'm going to
mhm,
Summerall. Contractors working. I need to be there working. And I am
mhm.
so excited for Larry and Kay and the rest of y'all's family. What a beautiful place. I cannot wait to see. Maybe Crusher down the road will be able to show us how beautiful it's turned out.
You should just come visit. You know,
yeah,
if I
and
wasn't saving up for a trial, I would have been over. I'd be in that state park where you're at right now.
amen. I understand. I do.
Yeah, I mean, I want
When
to.
you, yeah, when y'all, those trees in the backyard of where Larry's
Mhm.
going to
Yay.
to remodel this home, those were the same trees that JJ used to play in,
Yeah,
and he feels so close to JJ there. And it's
yeah,
a gorgeous place, y'all. It's
yeah.
just, it's so beautiful, and it has so many wonderful memories. There's no way that Chad or Lori or any of this terrible case is going to affect the love and the memories that this family holds dear of Charles, JJ, Tylee. They're always going to have those smiling moments, those moments of reflection of, thank you, God, for giving me the time you did give with me with them. And we have to look at it that way instead of looking at it like, we've been robbed and this is the end
Yeah.
of it.
Right.
Um,
There's so much to go and grow and expound on, and there's so much work to do. There's so much work to do, and it just goes to show all the places where we can just improve. You know. Oh, Gene, you said something about crawfish. Now I'm hungry for them. Thanks,
we
Gene.
sure did love them. We
They're
sure
out of
did.
season
We
right now.
loved the crawfish. It's so good. We ate up all that boudin or whatever that stuff's called
Boudin
too.
is boudin.
Boudin. We ate all that up too. I told
I
Wayne, I
wondered. I've
said,
been
man,
meaning to
we're going to
ask.
have to make us another trip down to Louisiana one of these days to get us some more.
I mean, just come on. There's plenty
Yeah,
of
for
hugs
Kay
and
to
sugar
even think
and
about that, she took me in the kitchen and I was looking, she unwrapped it and I'm like, what the heck is this stuff? She said, now I got some for you to take home. And I'm thinking to myself, this woman is incredible to even, to even think about doing something kind like that for
it's
me.
hospitable. You know,
It, y'all
and it
are an
wasn't. None
awesome
of that was
family.
forced, KJ. None of it was forced. I didn't pre-plan it. I just let it
I know it
happen.
was weird. I had
Didn't it?
no idea.
I know.
I had
It
no
kind of.
idea that
I
Larry
just
and Kay
knew
were
that
going
it
to be
would be
there.
pulled together. I knew that everything, would just kind of come together because I
And I'm
never.
most thankful for my husband Wayne getting to see all that and meet Larry and them, because
Same.
I think about him before I think about what it
Right.
is that I enjoy or something. And he's lived a long life and he's out working today or he'd be here. He's not even going to be here with me this week. He's got so much to work going on, so many job sites and everything.
Yeah.
And my
He's a
sister's
good
coming
man.
up and she's going to spend a couple of days with me. But I think this time alone, and I'm not really alone because I'm sitting here with all of y'all and I love all of y'all too. So it's pretty
Yeah. We
cool.
love you too, KJ. And I mean, just, we love every one of you guys here. Thank you for being here. I mean, I don't know. I could go on a whole tangent and never make sense of how much you guys mean to me and to KJ also. And this is Eric and True Crime Unveiled, and Kathy, Jennifer. There's so
And
many
all
people.
everybody,
Mom and
really.
Larry, Jason. I mean,
Everybody, even all of these people on here right now, they're part of this. This isn't them just
yes.
showing up and what do you got on the live stream here? This is all of us collectively. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful community.
Bye. Bye, Larry. You just don't. You better stay hydrated. Don't make me send Jason.
I
Yeah.
make Wayne wear one of them big floppy hats now, and he has to wear those white long sleeve shirts that have the
Mm-hmm.
UV in them
Yeah.
because his skin, as he gets older, I'm worried about skin cancer and all that. But
Uh-huh. Yep. So yeah, we don't. Lori is a freaking reminder of how important sunblock is. Okay.
the woman is pathetic.
Oh my
And when I
goodness.
get off of this live stream, I'm going back and I'm going to be, I've taken a few notes, but I got busy blabbing my mouth. But I
Too.
want y'all to really, really have confidence in yourself enough to go back, look at her facial expressions, think about what it is that she is saying, because it's there, y'all. It's there.
Yep. trust me, y'all can read her. That's what I feel like I'm going to look like in court. And I was like, I'm going to have to wear a whole veil and everything just to cover my facial reaction, my facial expressions, because I'm very animated. And
I got a little bit concerned when I saw you at Lori's preliminary hearing.
Oh,
You
yeah.
sitting there very incensed, and I thought, surely she's not going to jump over that banister.
I mean, I don't know how many times in my mind I did. You know, I mean, mainly because it makes my mom and my dad hurt. I mean, I'm hurting, but only I get to piss them off. You know what I'm saying? And I know I'm joking about that, but I mean, no, nobody hurts my family. Nobody. And that's where I feel protected.
Dark
And
Liberty says, my first time visiting the channel.
saw
Dark
that.
Liberty, we're glad to have you. We'll hope you come back.
Yes, please. And
Krisha,
electronic medium,
she's the
thank
best.
you.
She's the best.
And Rhombohedral, so glad you're back. And did you see a Rainy April? I hadn't seen her in a while.
Isabella Galt.
Yeah.
And Yin Yang, my channel
Yes.
poet.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard from Yin Yang in a while.
So it's so good to see that these a-holes at least bring us together. You know,
Right.
I know we all have our own lives we're living, but it sure is nice to touch down every once in a while, at least once a week. You know, I try. I got punished last week. I played the Vice clip a little in its entirety. So I didn't know. I now know that I should probably keep my YouTube studio open whenever I'm streaming so that I'll see warnings like that. So, I mean, I learned the hard way. This is how I learned, but I didn't know what the hell happened. I was like, I have no idea. And so I learned by mistakes and then you just readjust and continue on. But thank you, Electronic Medium, for being here. That's Judy. She has a channel and it's very interesting. Very interesting. I ran across it and I was like, holy crap. It's just another way of research. But I want to thank you guys for being here and for dealing with my shenanigans and for sharing yours. You know, like I couldn't even keep up with the comments because they were saying exactly what I was feeling. And it was a good diversion for the time being, you know? So I really appreciate everybody's input.
And for everyone that didn't see Kathy's announcement on that, at www.patreon.com/difficult research there till the month of September. KJ is going to put up a piece of my artwork specifically for the one who, the one that does the donation or whatever it is. I don't know how she's got it worded, but I want y'all to know that I have been very hand selective of this. Okie Dokie and Anna Brown have received theirs. I know many others have received theirs as well. This is coming out of my heart, out of my art. It's abstract art. If y'all want to do that, that would be awesome. I know that, this old country girl can only do what I see in terms of my art, but I guarantee you I hand select and I pray and I think about what it is that I send to each person. So if y'all can remember that and know that this will ultimately help Cresha K. Easton in her trial cost, along with, allowing her channel to grow, that would be awesome, because we want more people here, not for monetizations per se. It's for to have a larger community of people that can all get together and really feel like they are invested. This isn't just going to watch some live stream and there you go, let's go to the next one. How about being part of it? How about being part of it? It's a community, part of the channel.
KJ, look up.
What?
Look,
oh, there they are. See, there's two right there, y'all. And those right there are pieces that I have done. I gave when I was in Louisiana, I also gave Kay Woodcock. She picked a couple of the sand art ones that I'd done.
Yeah.
They're all originals. folks,
I
and
love them. So,
they come from deep in my heart.
and you can tell, you know, and then she brought them all the way from Tennessee, and just, I mean, just to be able to meet you in person, to hug you, to listen to your husband's stories and your stories. I just saw you. I can look back and I think about all the times I would glance over at you or something, and your wheels were just a turning. You were taking it all in, and that was so beautiful. You know, it really was, because I mean, I could just see it. I could see it. It was tangible.
Yeah, well,
um,
I'll tell you what, if you probably, what you were probably sensing was I just being around you and your family, it made me incredibly humble. It
Same.
humbled me. It shifted my whole perspective. Many of y'all will never meet. When you see this stuff on television and you think, oh, this is terrible for the family, and you might pray for the family, or you might not even really get to hear them on TV or anything, the family members. These people are, I wished I could explain it in the most articulate way. It's just, they're so real, so they have so much strength and so much resolve to get justice, and
Yeah.
yet they move forward in life and do the best they can, and they're just everyday people like all of us, but they're wonderful people, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thank you for that. Thank you. And I mean, you are what you attract, you know. It's because we're surrounded by such a wonderful community that the victims have brought together, in my opinion. Can't convince me otherwise. And this is whenever I feel them. This is whenever I feel their spirit. This is when I feel them. And so, yeah, I mean, we're brought together a lot of times to talk about some really difficult stuff. None of it's easy, but it's worth it, and they're worth it. And we are all advocates. We all are a mouthpiece. I know I like to do this, and I run it, you know, hot air for other stupid reasons. You know, I might as well use it and channel it and do something good.
Well, you've done a
And
lot of good, Kresha. You've
tell
done
their
a lot of
stories.
good.
Thank you.
You being in the middle of it, you don't realize it, but you really are doing incredible work. And
I do.
I just want all of y'all to know that here in the next week or so, I'm going to have to be talking about even very, very triggering things. I've got something coming up that it's not something that I really want to talk about, but
I get it.
I know that I've got to, and so I hope that y'all will join me, and I'm going to continue to do what I can to support Kresha. If anything that she needs, y'all know that the KJ and the Ray is not going to be around after the adjudication of this case, and so we all need to uh, do what we can to continue to get justice through understanding, with the acknowledgement that none of this would be possible without the love of God. And that's just my view.
Yeah.
And so with that, I love y'all. I'm going to get off here, Kresha. Give me a holler when you can.
Thank
I'm
you,
going to,
KJ.
I remember y'all, the community wall. I'm going to be posting old pigtail woman there.
Well,
And I need,
unicorn.
yeah, please
Unicorn.
leave your comments on the rewatch on Kresha's live stream as well. She appreciates every word that y'all say to her, and I do as well.
They're
So
important. Yeah. Thank you so much. Love always wins. It's something that I saw that my uncle wrote to his attorney when he was taking Lori back. He was dropping the divorce. He said, "What can I say? Love always wins." And I don't know what it was, but I gravitated to it, and I don't know. And I love to see it. I love to show it. Because love does win. It's the only thing in this that makes sense to me. It's the only outcome that makes sense is love. It's the law. Love always wins. and I love seeing it in action. And just thank you guys for that unicorn, right? So just thank you so much. I will see you guys next time. KJ, you be safe.
Keep on looking.
Always. Lord, always.